Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Huracán D. Today, I bring something a little bit more different than the movies and the songs about boxing, and I'm going to talk about the most shocking scandals in boxing history. I'm going to talk about this week and the next one because we have the top 12 boxing scandals in boxing history. Sorry for that. So, boxing has had more than its fair share of controversy and scandal, possibly more than any other sport in history. As a vicious sport that's known for its highway robberies, underhanded dealings, and potential fatal methods of cheating fighters, boxing is a hard business. The business of boxing is not for the weak of heart. Boxing's biggest scandals mostly come as a result of somebody trying to get ahead by immoral means, be it in the ring, the rankings, or the cash flow. And with that said, I'm going to bring you two or three scandals happened during the history of boxing today. Muhammad Ali loses his boxing license for Vietnam protests. Muhammad Ali was the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world in 1967, and he was highly acclaimed, earning money and fame in his profession of pugilism until he was called to join the Vietnam draft. Ali didn't believe in the Vietnam War, and on April 28, 1967, he protested by refusing to step forward when his name was called, resulting in his arrest. The New York State Athletic Commission, the most influential boxing commission at the time, decided to revoke Ali's boxing license before he was even convicted. The other spineless commissions followed suit. During the 3 years that he wasn't allowed to box, Ali had to go on speaking engagement at various colleges to make enough money to put food on the table and pay his bills. By the time Ali was reinstated in 1970, 3 of his best years as a professional were gone. Ali was closer to 30 than 25, leaving the world to only wonder what those 3 years could have produced. To make a comparison, Sugar Ray Leonard faced and defeated the likes of Roberto Duran and Tommy Hearns between the ages of 25 and 28. Roy Jones Jr. gave James Toney his first loss and defeated the legendary Mike McCallum during the same time period of his career. Another one is Antonio Margarito was caught with plaster in his gloves. Antonio Margarito had just come off his inspiring 2008 TKO of previously undefeated Miguel Cotto, the former welterweight world champ, when he met Shane Mosley in January 2009. Mosley's trainer, Nazim Richardson, noticed a powdery substance in Margarito's gloves. When this substance was brought to the attention of officials, Margarito was made to re-wrap his gloves 3 times. The substance turned out to be plaster of Paris, a powder that would harden when wet. When applied to hand wraps, sweat would make the powder harden into the equivalent of a cast. Mosley would go on to knock Margarito out in brutal fashion, and Margarito would be banned from the sport for a year. In the aftermath of the discovery of Margarito's plaster, many have questioned his 2008 clash with Cotto and some of his other victories, and the sport of boxing took another blow to its credibility. IBF President Robert Lee takes bribes, sells rankings. In boxing, there are 4 major world championship governing bodies: the WBC, WBA, WBO, and IBF. The IBF, International Boxing Federation, is one of the youngest governing bodies, beginning operations in 1984. The ranking championships title shots were all paid for by $338,000 in bribes. The IBF's rankings would depend on the merit of the boxers in their particular division, but fighters with a big pocket promoter, like Don King, could pay to advance. Bribes from big promoters ensured their fighters stayed ranked above other fighters just getting by. This scheme would go for over 13 years before an investigation was made, and IBF President Robert Lee was arrested, along with 3 other officials who were charged with taking bribes. Over 23 boxers and 7 promoters, including Don King and top ranks Bob Arum, were revealed to have been involved in fights tainted by bribes. Arum said he paid $100,000 in 1995 to have George Foreman not have to face his mandatory. Sorry for that. The IBF fed Foreman Alex Schultz, who was defeated by majority decision. In the end, Lee was convicted on bribery charges and served 22 months in prison and paid $25,000 in fines. And how to forget Mike Tyson bites Evander Holyfield. Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield in 1996 was like the heavyweights version of today's Mayweather-Pacquiao. Both fighters were clearly not the same as they once were when the hype was at its highest 5 years earlier, yet finally it was about to happen. It did, and Holyfield won by TKO in round 11, scoring an impressive upset. A rematch was held in 1997, with many fans not wanting to let go and realize Tyson was no longer the baddest man on the planet. During the second round of Tyson Holyfield 2, Tyson received a cut from a Holyfield headbutt. Tyson complained that the referee did nothing about Holyfield's headbutts during their first match. Tyson decided to take matters into his own hands in round 3 and decided to bite Holyfield in his right ear, ripping a bit of cartilage off and spitting it out. Referee Mills Lane deducted 2 points from him, and the bout continued, with Tyson biting the other ear and then coming over to Holyfield's corner after the round to argue and fight. Tyson was disqualified and the audience was pissed. A fan even threw a water bottle at Tyson's back. Tyson would be fined $3 million and temporarily banned from the sport. Pop culture aftermath has harmed boxing far worse, turning the increasingly less respectable sport into a circus sideshow worthy of a trash TV era in the mid of the late 90s. And that's the end of today's program. Next week, we're going to bring some more interesting stories. If you liked it, please subscribe and click on like. Have a good day.